Hi everyone, welcome. Come on in and join us. Since we just opened it up, we'll give it a second to let everyone log on and then we will get started. I will give it until 12:02. All right. We are going to get started. If you are just joining us, welcome. On behalf of OACAC and StriveScan, I just have a couple reminders and housekeeping announcements. First off, this is meant to be engaging. It is a Zoom webinar, so your camera and microphone are off, so we can't see you whether you're wearing your mask or not. But we still want you to engage with our panelists. So use the Q&A button to type your questions at any time. They may or may not get to them during the presentation, but there should be some time for questions. Make sure you sign up for more sessions at oacac.org. And if something cuts out or we lose you at some point, the recording of this will be available online at the end. So I'm going to hand it off to my Shawnee State friends. Take it away.
Awesome. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Means. I'm the Assistant Director for Enrollment Management at Shawnee State, and I'm going to be hosting our session today. I'd also like to let you know that behind the scenes, we do have my colleague, Tina Pierce. She'll be available as you submit questions with that Q&A. If we get busy, we might not be able to get to everyone's questions, but we'll have a little bit of time at the end to also review those questions or allow you to submit some more. Here on the very first slide, I do have my contact information. So if you have any questions throughout this time, you want to take your phone and take a quick picture of that. If you have any follow-ups that you need help with, you can feel free to call me or email me, and we can get you connected with your recruiter and answer your questions that you might have. All right, without any further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. First, I like to kind of reintroduce Shawnee State to everyone. I know some of you may be joining me from Portsmouth right here, or some of you might be joining me from Cleveland or Columbus, and maybe your exposure to Shawnee State might not be as much as somebody that lives right here in our backyard. So I do like to reintroduce ourselves. First, we are a four-year public institution here in the state of Ohio. We like to call ourselves an accessible, best value university. We offer high quality degrees, affordable tuition. We're very student focused, and we really focus on excellent career outcomes for our students. This quick little 5-point list that I have here are some things that I like to, again, reintroduce to people about Shawnee State and some of our biggest factors and best things about us whenever students are doing their college search. First, we are an open access institution. That means that we do not have a minimum ACT, a minimum ACT score, or a minimum GPA for students to have in order to get into Shawnee State. We do have pathways for all level of college readiness. So as long as a student completes their application, sends in their test scores and transcript, they will get an acceptance decision. Then they can decide on if that pathway is a good choice for them. We also have a very free and easy application process, so we're accessible in that way as well. We've also become members of Common App. We're in our second year, so if you're filling out Common App and applying for other schools, go ahead and think about applying to Shawnee State. Regardless of whether you fill out our online application or if you fill out the Common App, the application is free, and then the only items that we need in addition to that would be your high school transcript and test scores. No letters of reference or recommendations or anything like that, or essays needed. We're also, number 3, a very student-focused institution. We do have faculty members that do research, but their main job, their number 1 priority is teaching the students that they have in their classes. We don't have any TAs or GAs that teach inside the classroom. And our classes are very small, so you have a lot of time where you can connect with your professor, meet them after class, and be really focused on building those relationships with faculty members within your major. Next, we have some really amazing majors. A lot of times students might recognize us or think about us because of our game design. We've been so lucky to be ranked in the top 10 for several years, in the top 20 for several years, and this year number 9 out of the entire nation for game design. So we're really proud of that. But we have almost 70 different degree programs, and many of them are also outstanding too. A couple that I like to mention, and I'll highlight some more in a minute, are plastic engineering technology, our health sciences like PTA, OTA, nursing, radiology, dental hygiene, our healthcare administration programs. We have several business programs, a musical theater program, which a lot of students might not know about, pre-med, which is pretty fantastic, teacher education, and then of course our nationally ranked game design, and a very unique 3+2 occupational therapy program, which means if a student is interested in occupational therapy, they can be accepted into this program if they meet these requirements, and in 5 years get their undergraduate and master's degree in occupational therapy. So that's a great cost savings for students and a nice accelerated path for students going into their MOT. Finally, on this slide, we have affordable tuition. We're very affordable. We have a low tuition rate. We have scholarships that start for students at a 3.2 GPA and a 21 ACT. We have something called the Shawnee Advantage, which is a tuition guarantee. And that tuition guarantee means that your price is locked in during your first semester of Shawnee State, and it will not go up for your 4 years at Shawnee State. So if you have a renewable scholarship or you're trying to budget, this makes it really easy. And then I always like to give a little bit of numbers because it makes it a little easy to wrap your head around the cost. At Shawnee State, for our students, in-state tuition is about $8,600 for the full academic year. So 2 semesters going full time. All right, we'll move right along to our next slide. I've got a couple of pictures. I want to make this presentation as engaging and interesting as possible. This is a quick picture of our student working in one of our plastics engineering technology labs. We have a lot of hands-on opportunities for students working in plastics and really great job placement rates. We're actually in the top 10 in the country for engineering technologies and plastics and considered one of the best in the Midwest for this program. Most of our students experience a 100% job placement rate in our plastics after they graduate. Tons of areas of Ohio have plastics industry, so we have great career placement for this position, for these majors. Next, I want to highlight our musical theater. Again, a lot of students might not know that we have this program. A lot of programs that you find in Ohio might be at a private school, so we're a really affordable public option for students interested in a BFA in our musical theater. Plus, it's musical theater, so you'll be up on stage singing and dancing. And for our students just starting out, you get a lot of stage experience. We're a smaller school. Our program is smaller, so you don't have to wait till you're a junior or a senior to be able to audition for those different parts. And if you're interested in musical theater, but you don't want to major in it, we've had some of our pre-med majors, business majors, and several other people that have also been able to participate in our performances. Next, I also like to share a picture from our game design lab. This is not only a really great representation of the experience for students in gaming, there's a lot of group work. It's also one of our more renovated places. We just renovated this last year, so a lot of students in our programs are going to have new computer labs, new classrooms, and different things that they'll get to experience when they're at Shawnee State too. Next, I have my favorite slide. It's my infographic slide. I think it's fun to look at, and it kind of also helps paint that picture for Shawnee State. I know I mentioned that we have small class sizes. Our student-teacher ratio is 15:1. I have our nice little logo here from the Princeton Review again, that we're one of the top game design programs. But a couple of other things we haven't quite mentioned yet are our intercollegiate sports, our student organizations, and other opportunities. Sometimes students get the impression from Shawnee State, since we're a small school, since we might have smaller tuition, and sometimes students think that there might be opportunities that they might miss out on since we're a smaller school. But I like to talk a little bit about the student organizations and to talk a little bit about our athletics, so that way students can see the other things that they can experience. At Shawnee State, we have over 60 different clubs and organizations that students can join. That does include fraternities and sororities. We have some of our groups that have political affiliations. We have some that are religious-based, many of them that are based in our majors. So not only can you study dental hygiene or teacher education or pre-med, you can also join their clubs. So that gives you a second layer of experience with our faculty members that sponsor it and other students that are there in those groups. We also have our 21 intercollegiate men's and women's athletics teams. We're an NAIA school, so we do have scholarship opportunities available to our student athletes. We have a lot of our traditional sports at Shawnee State: basketball, track, cross country, baseball, but we've got a couple of unique ones too. We've got our club archery, we've also got bowling, a men's and women's golf, and esports. We're going into our third year for esports, and our teams have been having a lot of fantastic luck and great experiences competing against some other schools. So if you're interested in game design, not only can you major in it at Shawnee State, but you could also participate in our esports, where you get to play video games against other schools and could even earn some scholarship money. I also like to mention our study abroad opportunities. Again, even though we're small, we still have a lot of opportunities for students to be able to participate in what some people might think of as like the true college experience. And our study abroad opportunities can be a part of our international student exchange program, where you can do a full semester abroad. It can be a part of our summer program, where many of our English, social sciences, and honor students might take a class abroad with other Shawnee State students and a sponsoring faculty member, which is usually a really great transition to a student's first international experience. And we have an office called the Center for International Programs and Study Abroad that can help facilitate each step of applying, getting your passport, and planning your travel for a study abroad experience. So we have a lot of really great opportunities at Shawnee State that I like to highlight here. So, and if you have questions about those, feel free again to enter those into the Q&A. And as I said, we'll have some of those questions at the end for students as well. Next, let's talk a little bit about the application process. I know I mentioned it a little bit, but I like to go into some detail, especially for students that might not have applied yet and for some of our counselors. Your first step to apply for admission to Shawnee State is to fill out your application. Again, you can fill out your application at shawnee.edu by clicking Apply Now, or you can visit commonapp.org. We do accept our applications all year long. So if you're applying for fall, we're accepting applications all the way up till fall, spring, and summer on a rolling basis. And we put out our decisions on a rolling basis. So a student does not have to wait until a release date. Once we have your completed application, we'll go ahead and send that out to you. While you're filling out your application, you'll want to go ahead and have your high school transcript be sent to admissions. We are very flexible with this. So if your high school counselor wants to fax it to us, email it to us at admissions@shawnee.edu, or mail it in the traditional way, we can accept them in all those different ways. We're very, very flexible. Next, we have students submit their ACT or SAT scores to admission, and we're also very flexible with this. It does not have to be an official score that you order from ACT or SAT. And as you're taking tests, we highly recommend that you choose Shawnee State as one of your recipients so that those test scores come to us automatically. But if you're just now considering Shawnee State and you need to add a test score to be sent to us, don't pay for that to come to us. Go ahead and have if your counselor can, put it on your high school transcript. We'll accept it that way, or download your scorecard. You can upload that to your application, or you can send it to us via email or even mail it into us. So we're, again, very flexible with accepting the ACT and SAT scores. Next, after we complete that application, as I said, application, transcript, test scores, then you're going to receive an admission e-letter and then a packet. And the packet, of course, is your official welcome to an admitted student to Shawnee State, and also includes access to My SSU, which is our student portal. That is where students are going to be able to register for orientation, apply for different programs, view their financial aid package, and not only as a new student, but as a continuing student, it'll be their direct access to a lot of things that they're going to be doing as a student at Shawnee State. You might be wondering, hey, number 4, we got accepted. Why do we have a 5th step? Well, some of our academic programs at Shawnee State are selective, and they're some of our most popular programs. Our selective programs do typically have an additional application and some additional requirements. Some of those programs include nursing. We have a 2-year and a 4-year degree program in nursing, dental hygiene, radiology, respiratory therapy, OTA, occupational therapy assistant, physical therapy assistant or PTA, and our EMT programs, plus our 3+2 MOT program will have an additional application. So if a student is pursuing one of those selective programs, they will need to submit that application. Typically, the deadlines for those programs are in the spring, so students will need to submit those February 1st, March 1st, April 1st, depending on the corresponding deadline for their program. And I highly encourage you to explore your program's page to make sure that you're meeting that deadline, or contact us so that we can keep track and make sure that you are on track to complete those. Many of them do have a minimum ACT score. Some of them also have observation hours that are required, so they will have an additional application that needs to be submitted. All right, now also just another quick reminder that you can apply through Common Application. That does have a spot where students and counselors can upload those transcripts. So if a student fills out their Common App application, chooses Shawnee State, and uploads their high school transcript with test scores, they're done applying. So Common App makes it really easy, especially if you're applying through other schools. All right, once you get accepted, what does your pathway look like? At Shawnee State, we have 3 very flexible pathways for students once they're admitted. We have our Summer Bridge program, we have our General Studies pathway, and then we also have our College Ready pathway. And the way we determine what pathway a student is going to be on is typically based on their ACT or SAT scores. And then also it is based on a placement test if they would need to take a placement test. For most of our students, when we get their ACT or SAT scores and complete their application, we'll let you know what pathway you're going to be on. For students that have an ACT composite of 18 in math, reading, and English, they are considered college ready. So you will be able to go ahead and declare your major, move right into your program classes, and it will also allow you to go ahead and start your programs that you have with the exception of your selective programs. Students in our selective programs will again have to fill out that application and be admitted before they start those program requirements. Our second pathway is for students that are right in between. That's right there in our general studies pathway. Students that might have one area, maybe another area where they're borderline in math, reading, and English. They will still start in the fall, no summer commitment, but they will have some developmental coursework that they'll need to get out of the way. They'll start off in a general studies program, and they'll have additional help from their advisors to make sure that they're staying on track with their developmental work. The great news for this pathway is that if they're college ready in math, they can go ahead and start taking those college ready classes to help their degree. And our advisors are very helpful and very well trained to make sure that what you're taking in your first semester along with your developmental classes will help you along your pathway in order to get to your 4-year degree. Finally, we have our Summer Bridge to Success program. This past year, we did conduct that program online. In the past, it has been an in-person summer program, but this program is designed for students that do not have an 18 in math, reading, and English, and do not qualify for those kind of borderline co-requisite classes. So if they're not college ready in 2 of 3 areas, we do have a requirement. Now, some of our students will take a placement test to appeal their decision since it is based on ACT or SAT, because the ACT and SAT, of course, is not always a perfect indicator of how successful a student will be in their coursework. So we do have opportunities to appeal that decision. Students that participate in the Summer Bridge program will register for the Summer Bridge instead of orientation. And then whenever they register for the program, they'll participate in a 6-week program to get all of their developmental courses out of the way. Now, the great news about this program is that it's free. So students do not pay tuition when they're taking those courses over the summer. Usually students can get anywhere from 6 to 9 credit hours, depending on how many classes they need to take. The books are completely provided. And if we're able to host that program on campus, we usually typically provide housing for students that are outside 25 driving miles. So it is a fantastic opportunity for students that have developmental needs in 2 of 3 areas. And it allows them to go ahead without any risk of having to pay tuition back if they're not successful, get a really good glimpse into what it's like to be a college student. And again, save some money getting those classes out of the way. Then when they start in the fall, about 2/3 of the way through the program, if they're on track to pass all their courses, an advisor will help place them into their fall classes. And typically our students that are successful, they go right into college ready classes. So they'll have no developmental classes that they need to take while they're taking their fall classes. All right, we'll move right along here. Okay, now let's talk about our scholarships for a little bit. At Shawnee State, again, our base tuition rate for our students that are in-state is about $8,600. And again, that's for the full academic year. And at Shawnee State, we offer scholarships that are merit-based. So we have scholarships for students that have a 3.2 GPA or higher and a 21 ACT. Our scholarship matrix is almost finished getting updated, but typically the scholarships start at about 2,500 and go all the way up to about 5,500. Again, those are merit-based, and students, when they're accepted, we go ahead and look at your GPA and your ACT, and we go ahead and make those awards right away. So you'll be able to know what that package is. We do have a couple of recommended deadlines for students to kind of keep them on track and make sure that you're getting your financial aid award packages in a timely manner to make your decision. We highly recommend that students complete their application for our early consideration December 1st. If you complete your application and your FAFSA by December 1st, we will make sure that you have a financial aid award package by January 15th. And that financial aid award package will let you know any grants that we have available, any loans that you're going to have available, and then our scholarship award through our merit-based scholarships. We also have our next priority deadline for January 31st. So if you want to go into that next round of our packages, we recommend that you apply and complete your FAFSA by then. And then our final scholarship deadline is May 1st of 2021. So after May 1st, students that are applying for the first time will not be eligible for our merit-based scholarships. One thing that I also want to add is that in addition to tweaking our merit-based scholarships a little bit, we're also giving opportunities for students in some different ways. And for the first time, we'll be offering some need-based scholarships. And need-based scholarships will not be based just on their performance, but it'll also be based on if they have a huge gap in maybe covering their housing, if there might be some issues with access to Parent Plus loans. These are all things that you'll be able to discuss with your admission officer. If after you get your aid package, you still have a big gap and you need some help. We know that a large amount of loans is not always ideal for students. Parent Plus loans aren't always a possibility for students, and students that might not qualify for scholarships might have some need-based need too. So that's definitely opportunities that we are putting out there this year. So there's great opportunities for students for their scholarships. Our scholarships are renewable. So for students that maintain a 3.0 GPA each year at Shawnee State, they'll be able to renew that each year. So they'll know they'll be able to count on it, which is a really great thing for students to be able to do if they know exactly what their tuition is with our tuition guarantee and then qualify for that scholarship. They'll really have a good idea of what their costs are going to be for all 4 years. And I know I mentioned it just lightly, but I'll point out it one more time. Tomorrow is October 1st. So tomorrow the FAFSA will be available for 21, 22, and we highly recommend for students, along with their parents, their guardians, and their counselors, go ahead and start working on their FAFSA. We would love it if you have it done by December 1st so we can give you that package and that information by January 15th. So that you can make that decision. But we know sometimes it takes a little bit more time, but we highly recommend doing it early because some students will be selected for verification. Some of you may be very familiar with that if you have older children that might be already in college, and some of you might be hearing it for the first time. But it is a process that can require additional documentation be provided to institutions so they can put your financial aid award package together. And we definitely want to make sure you fill out the FAFSA early to see if you'll have additional documentation to submit. And again, that's all so that you get your award from us in a timely manner so that you can make your decision on what's going to be a best fit for you. And I'm sure you're aware many of our students and families make their choice for Shawnee State because of our affordability, but it is hard to make your decision without a clear view of your financial aid award package. All right, next up I have my updates and FAQs before we go into our full question and answer at the end. And the reason I bring this up is because things are very different. We have a lot of schools that aren't offering campus tours. We have some offices on our campus that are still working remotely. So I'd like to go into this just a little bit. And if you have additional questions, of course, again, submit those through the Q&A and be sure to save those questions for our Q&A here in just one moment. First, what's campus like this semester on campus? Like many of our other Ohio publics, we have published a dashboard that shows whenever we have positive cases that are on campus. But what I like to talk about when I talk about what's campus like is that we're trying our very best to make sure things are as normal as possible for students. When we started our fall 20 semester, we started with our on-campus classes. We also added sections of online classes and developed some new hybrid classes. So we are starting here on campus. We're here in the fall right now, but we do have more online options for students that want to take those online classes. And then we have some hybrid options too for our students. Is Shawnee State having campus tours? Are we having them? We are. We do have dates available in October. So if you'd like to come to campus for one of our visits, feel free to schedule that. We are, of course, taking precautions to make sure that students and staff and faculty are safe when they're on campus, but we definitely want students to come and look at Shawnee State's campus. It's beautiful, nice and compact, and a lot of times for students, if they like our price point and we have their major, whenever they get to campus, it can really seal the deal for students. One other thing I always like to address too is, what if a student can't take the ACT or SAT, or what is test recommended? Some schools are talking about being test optional, test blind, test recommended, test waiver. At Shawnee State, we're following a test recommended. Since we don't have a lot of other requirements for admission, we do recommend that students take the ACT or SAT, and if you have a score, go ahead and send it to us. Since we're open access, your score will not negatively impact your decision. It will just help us place you on a pathway for admission. Now, for some students, if you have not taken the ACT or SAT, and unfortunately I know a lot of locations are canceling or changing plans or postponing, if you're unable to take your ACT or SAT, please contact us, because we will have some alternative pathways for students that are unable to test. Now, with that being said, I do like to remind students that there are some of those selected programs, regardless of general admission, that may need a minimum ACT or SAT score in order to get in. So if you've already taken the test, or you're thinking about scheduling a test and you're interested in a selective program, it's a very good idea to go ahead and make those plans, or contact us so that we can help you make that decision. All right, I also have a quick picture here of our Shawnee State app. It's a great tool for students on campus to look for resources, to do a ride share, maybe you're trying to sell a used book. But one other thing that we've added was our health portion of the app. So our students are able to take a quick questionnaire every morning, and then in the morning they can get cleared to come to campus. Or it might recommend that they check in with our health team, especially if they're experiencing some symptoms that might be from COVID. And then we can look at that and recommend if those students might need to go for testing or have other coaching, things like that. So it's a great tool our students are using. All right, on recommendation of a lot of my admission associates, I want to talk for a quick minute about housing. Where you live is very important, so I like to share some details about that with our students. At Shawnee State, we do require that students that do not live in commuter distance live on campus their first year. We do not require students that are traditional sophomores to live on campus, but what I do like to say is that our housing is pretty unique. We don't have any dorms. There's no big communal areas for bathrooms. All of our housing is apartment, townhouse, apartment style. So you have a kitchen, you have bathrooms in your apartment, you have a key to your front door, there's no big common areas. And again, you never have to put on your shower shoes and get your shower caddy together and walk all the way down the hallway where 4 other people are already showering or waiting your turn for the tub. You don't have to do anything like that at Shawnee State. The other thing that I like to mention too for our housing is that we have opportunities for students to participate in our themed housing. So we have different areas that are designated for our honor students or high achieving students that have extended quiet hours. We have some areas for our students that are in gaming, so it has some expanded bandwidth. And then in those different specialty areas, and then all over our campus housing, we have our very traditional resident assistants or RAs right there on the floors within the apartments to help students with any questions that they might have. Professional staff members that are right there on campus too. A lot of students also want to make sure they know about the food. I know that's very important on campus, but at Shawnee State, we do have a cafeteria. It's our Bears Den dining hall that is located in our Morris University Center. And as I've said, campus is very compact. So even if you live in one of our campus view apartments or our townhouses, it's a very short walk over to our Bears Den dining hall. All right, let's go ahead and move. I just have one other slide and then my contact information, and then we'll open it up to some additional questions. This is a slide that I like to share. It's from one of our social media campaigns because I think it just gives a really great glimpse of what campus like is life. This is from some of our events that we had on campus, like our weekend of welcome, which we did. We spaced it out. Some of our students participating in athletics. On campus, we are requiring masks for students whenever they're in classes. Our professors are having masks and things like that. But we still have a lot of students that are very active on campus. We've got virtual rush coming up for some of our fraternities. So I do like to kind of share that so you guys can get a glimpse of what some of our students look like here on campus. All right, finally, again, here is my contact information. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to email me or give me a call, and of course, visit our website. I know I mentioned that we do have campus tours, but if you're not quite ready to get out of the house yet, that's okay. We also offer a plethora of virtual events. We have some weekly events where we do transfer admission sessions, general information sessions for seniors, next steps for our students that might have already filed their application. We've also got sessions coming up for virtual tours, financial aid, and then we're going to have some academic sessions too, nursing, medical lab tech. Those are all coming up very soon. So I highly encourage you to check out our website or contact me if you have questions about visiting campus. All right, so I'm going to take a quick peek here and see some of our questions that might have been popping up in our Q&A and see what we might be able to answer. I know somebody did have a question about their ACT score. Again, your answer or your test score is going to place you into a pathway. You do not have to have a minimum test score. All right, and then I know we had a question. Again, and I know that Tina's been answering a lot of them for us, but about the musical theater department. One thing I did want to add about that program, again, it's a public institution, so it's very affordable. There's a lot of different productions that the students are, but the program does require an audition. So students that want to participate in the program would have to try out. We had a really great question that popped up that says, how can I check if a community college class from within Ohio will transfer? Well, great news. Shawnee State is a Ohio public institution, so we, even though we want to, we're also mandated to accept students that have credits from other public institutions in Ohio and students that are taking community college classes. And a lot of times the impact for that is that students are taking those as CCP classes. And one of the reasons that you have to work through certain levels of CCP classes is because we want those classes to transfer. If you're following what they call the Ohio Transfer Module or the Transfer Assurance Guide, or following along with your transfer, your CCP advisor, all those courses should transfer to Shawnee State without any issues at all. Now, one other thing that I do like to add on about that though, is for students, even though they'll transfer, the classes will transfer over as elective classes or elective credits, major requirements, or general education requirements. And that's the great thing about CCP, because those almost always meet general education requirements. But if you get up there higher in your CCP classes and you start taking some really interesting classes that are higher level, those will still transfer, but they may not transfer over as an equivalent in the degree program that you're very interested in. So if you take an abnormal psychology class because it interests you, and then you come to Shawnee State for education, it might not help you with your education degree, but it could come in as an elective. All right, we had an additional question that asks, besides merit-based scholarships, what other scholarships does SSU provide? Well, in addition to our merit-based scholarships, again, we are adding for the very first time our need-based scholarships. And those will be determined for our students that might be in housing, that might have a gap. In addition to that, there are also development foundation scholarships that can be based on major. And we also have something called our Friends of SSU scholarships. And again, those are for scholarships for students that might still have a gap. And then we also have something called a legacy scholarship. So for students that are going to be coming to Shawnee State and their parents or their step parents have graduated from Shawnee State, there's some bonus scholarship opportunities there. And we're just finalizing the details, but we are planning to roll out a really great scholarship for students that might be participating in the Bridge program. So even though they might not be eligible for our original merit-based scholarships, we are trying to reward their great effort in the Bridge program. So we're going to be rolling that out really soon. All right, let's take a quick peek and see here. All right, one question, it's very specific about commuting distance. This person asks, is Jackson County, Ohio within commuting distance? Typically what we consider commuting distance is within 25 driving miles. Now, with that being said, just because you're 27 driving miles out doesn't mean that commuting from there means you'll be unsuccessful or different things like that. So if you are borderline within 30, 35 miles, things like that, you can definitely consult with our housing and residence life team to see if you can appeal the decision to be in housing. Now, we also have some students that come to campus that their parents live 5 minutes away in Portsmouth. So they're right there and they're participating in housing because that's the experience that they want. But we have a lot of students that like to commute because they want to try and save money on their housing costs. So if you're unsure if you're going to be within commuting distance, feel free to contact admissions or a housing and residence life staff so that they can help you with planning out where you'll be driving from. But typically it is 25 driving miles for students. All right. Another question that came up in our Q&A, you guys are doing great, got lots of questions coming in, is do we have an EMT program? And the answer to that is yes, we actually have two at Shawnee State. We have our associate degree program for students if they want to get that associate degree, and then we also have a certificate program. That is one of our unique selective programs that we have at Shawnee State. So we do have our program coordinator, Bill Turner, that works really closely directly with students. So if you have questions about EMT programs, feel free to contact us and we can answer your questions and also direct you right to Mr. Turner, who can help you with the application process. If you're applying for one of our associate degree programs or the certificate program, you're still filling out the same application. The only difference for students that might be participating in the certificate program is they're technically a non-degree certificate student. Associate degree is a little bit different. So if you're not sure which one's a good match for you, definitely contact us and we'll help you figure that out. All right, again, lots of really great questions that have been coming in here. I have a couple other ones too that I wanted to hit on here. Sometimes students will ask us, is there a waiting list for our health science programs, a wait list for nursing or OTA or PTA? And the answer to that, unfortunately, is that we do not have a waiting list. We do a selection process every year, every cycle that starts over from scratch. And the reason we do that is to make sure that we've got the most qualified candidates each year that are going into the program. We have certain seats that we fill, and students are able to go ahead and work on getting some additional credits or maybe getting some other things that will help them get into their program. Lots of our students will start at Shawnee State, even though they're not accepted into their health science program, in order to get some prerequisites out to complete some classes so that they can get more eligible for their program and to make sure that they're on the right pathway. So many of our students in their first year will just take those prerequisite classes, especially if they have development classes, because if you have developmental classes, it doesn't automatically take you out of the running for our health degree programs, but you might just need to wait till your sophomore year to start in those. Students that do that wait till their sophomore year to start a 2-year degree program, oftentimes will stay on at Shawnee State for 1 more year, so that way they leave after 4 years with their 2-year degree in a selective health science program and in what we call our Bachelor of Science in Health Science. So that makes students very, very marketable by having 2-year degrees. And a lot of our students think that, you know, if they're going to be there for 3 years already, why not stick around for 1 more to get that bachelor's degree? It's also a really great option for students that might be student athletes, or if you qualify for a 4-year scholarship. That way, if you come back to school later on or go to another institution to complete a 4-year degree, scholarship opportunities might not be the same. All right. Okay, we had a student that said, I'm already accepted. When will I get my admission packet in the mail? Well, we have just started rolling out our decisions, so we will be doing those often as we're going through. So if you've already been accepted, your packet should be coming in the mail very, very soon. If you'd like to update your address or make sure that you've got the right mailing address, feel free to email me or give me a call and I can help make sure that's going on or that's coming out. But typically once a student is accepted and they get their e-letter, usually it's probably, I would say 5 to 10 business days after that the packet comes out. Now, we do have some areas of campus that are working remotely or have reduced staff. So sometimes the mail does have a little bit longer delay, so that might be a little bit different. But if you have specific questions or you haven't gotten your packet and you're aren't sure what's going on, I'd be happy to check on that for you. All right, we did have another question coming in about our RN to BSN program. Our RN to BSN program is for students that already are RNs, so it's a bridge program for students to get into the BSN, and that program for students that are already RNs is an online program. So we do have our Shawnee online campus, and that is one of our programs. That usually works out really great for a lot of students. When you're already an RN, you might be working at a hospital. Maybe you're letting your hospital pay for your bachelor's degree, but the classes you can do online to complete that BSN. So that's definitely through our Shawnee online program. All right, we have another question about CCP credits, which is great. I know so many of you participating in that, and that's wonderful. This question says that a student is a CCP student and has 22 credits, and they're wanting to apply for the nursing program. If I complete all but a few courses before applying for my program in the spring, will there be issues with my scholarships? If you are a CCP student in high school right now and you're applying for the nursing program, typically you won't be able to apply for the program until after you've graduated from high school. So I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding your question right. We do have two pathways, our associate degree and our bachelor's degree. The associate degree program is a 2-year degree program that we accept students for in the fall and in the spring. So the application cycle does happen both times. If you're applying for the associate degree program for students coming out of high school, that would be for fall 21 would be the first semester you can start the nursing program. The more classes you complete that are part of the prerequisites for nursing and the better grades that you have, your ACT, those will all add up to make you the most eligible for your programs in order to get in. And then if you're going to be coming with your CCP and you have those 22 credits, you shouldn't have any issues with your scholarships. As long as you meet our minimum merit-based scholarships whenever you're accepted, you'll be able to get those scholarships for 4 years while you're in that program. I hope I answered that. It sounds like I butchered that a little bit, but if you have questions, definitely submit those. I know we're getting a little bit close on time, so I'm going to see if we can get 1 or 2 more questions before our time is up, because we do have to end right at 12:45. All right, and our next question is this a good school to become a teacher? Absolutely. At Shawnee State, we have our own school of education. We have early, middle, and high school classes for our students to become teachers. We train a ton of teachers in this area and outside this area. We have great opportunities for our students that might be able to participate with Teach Grants, so it's very affordable. And one thing I always like to talk to students about when it comes to teacher education is the value of low tuition rates for teachers. My husband is a high school English teacher, and I think everybody knows that it's, you know, not the biggest high dollar job out there. So I always make sure that students think about how much debt they might be in whenever they go to a 4-year program, or consider a public, or consider scholarships that are available to try and keep your costs low whenever you're becoming a teacher. And I think that's one of the reasons so many students opt in for Shawnee State. All right, yep, looks like we're almost out of time. I'm gonna take one more really quick question because I just saw it pop up there. Oh, nope, it looks like somebody answered that for me, so I think that we're all good. All right, I can see someone from StriveScan, so I think that we're all finished up. Again, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. I know 45 minutes isn't very long, so please let me know if you have any questions, and then we'll actually have another event for Shawnee State coming up too. So if you have any friends that couldn't attend, they are welcome to look for our next one.
Awesome, thank you very much. I'm going to share this one last screen. Thank you all for attending. We really appreciate it. Hope it was a good lunchtime visit. There will be a quick 4-question survey that will appear when we end this event. So please answer those. As a reminder, there are more sessions available, oacac.org, and the recording will be available in the next week, typically, on oacac.org. Thank you all. Thank you, Amanda and Tina. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.